Okay, I hope you've got the packages open by now, and what you'll see is I've sent you two airbrushes. Uh, these two, let me get them in the camera, there we go. One of them I really like, and the other one I don't like so much. And so I'm going to explain to you why and what the relative price of these two are. So the first one I want you to pick up is the one that has the gold shaft in the back, and I'll explain what this is about. I'm going to turn the camera down here just a second. There we go. This airbrush is made by a company called Pache. It's a French-sounding name. I don't know if it is or not. It's made in Illinois, I think, in the Chicago area. Been around a long time. They're fairly well known. And I had my first Pache airbrush that was given to me as a present by my ex-wife about, I don't know, almost 30 years ago now. And it sat in a box for just ever. Because I couldn't figure out how to use it. I tried, and I couldn't figure it out. And it's now, I still have it. It's in pieces because I got it apart once, and it was very, very difficult to get it back together, and I just kind of gave up. And then I bought this one by the same company. This brush retails for just a little bit under $100. It's a nice looking piece, but I don't like it. And the reason that I don't care for it is essentially twofold. Now let me back up for just a second. This is what's called, both these airbrushes are called double stage or two-stage airbrushes. The first stage is when you push down on the trigger, like that, and that starts the air flowing, and then you pull back on the trigger like that, and it starts the paint or the dye or whatever you've got in the cup up here. And there's several different variations that I can talk about, but I'm not going to bore you with it for right now. I have not said excuse me, I'm getting ahead of myself. A one-stage airbrush only has a downflow on the trigger, and there's a screw up here that regulates the amount of material that comes out of the airbrush. And so you preset the amount of paint you're going to put on or dye, and then you release the air, and it starts everything working. In a two-stage brush, you push down on the trigger, and that starts air flowing, but no dye or no paint until you pull back on the trigger. I've not seen or heard of anybody that recommends a single-stage airbrush. Everybody that I've been able to come across recommends the double stage, and I really agree. It works much better. Pick this up if you haven't already. I would guess you probably have, and you'll notice that the mechanism of the trigger is just a little clunky and stiff. Works okay, but it's just clunky. Now pick up the other one. Not quite as sleek looking as the Pache. This is made by a German company by the name of Harder and Steenbeck, and this is just a quality instrument. When you push down on the airbrush on the trigger and move it back, it just has a fluidity and an ease about it, which is quite comfortable to use. The airbrush itself has got a nice heft to it, feels good in your hand, and it's slightly less expensive than this one. So I could have avoided this $100 expense had I known about this, but I didn't. Nobody that I could find had really talked about the Harder and Steenbeck Ultra. There are several other of the harder and Steenbeck models we're talking about, but they're much more expensive than this one. So the action of the trigger, the ease of the airbrush is kind of, ease of the trigger is kind of the first reason that I like this. The second one, and we'll get to it later on in the presentation, has to do with cleanup. Now, I don't know about you, you've probably painted a fair amount, just like I have over the course of our lives. I don't like to clean brushes after I finish painting. It's painting the you-know-what. And I kind of feel the same way about cleaning an airbrush. I don't like to do it particularly, but you better do it if you want to come back to it and have it work for you the next time. And the thing I love about this Harder and Steenbeck, their whole line is like this, starting with this this entry-level piece. And by the way, this retail cost on this is $90. And I've been buying the ones I have from a company in Oldsmar, Florida. It's a suburb of Tampa, and it's called Spray Gunner. Spraygunner.com is their internet address. And where was I going with my thought? Oh, it's cleanup. It's just easy to clean. And all you have to do, and I'm not going to do it right now, I'm going to use this and show you the airbrush techniques that I've mastered a little bit. And then I'll clean up the airbrush. And I'll show you what I'm talking about when we get to the ease of cleaning the airbrush. What I plan for the class at the trade show is it's kind of built around this Herman Oak coffee coaster that we got in Prescott that was handed out, and so I'm gonna do a takeoff on this. It's an easy project to do, and it's really more than anything an excuse to decorate it and to show the sunburst technique that I want to display or reveal. My wife, whom I hope you get to meet one of these days, lovely lady named Vicki. She was a musician, taught guitar for over 30 years. When she, her husband at the time, had made a trip to Tijuana down in Mexico, which a lot of Southern Californians used to do. We don't do it too much anymore because it's not safe. But he brought her home a cheap, like $40 Mexican guitar, and gave it to her. I think it was just to kind of mollify her a little bit because he probably shouldn't have been down there. I don't know what he did, but probably wasn't good. He brought her home this guitar, and she picked it up, and it was one of those life-changing experiences for her. She picked it up, and she just loved it. Cheap as what, didn't matter to her. She picked it up, started playing it, and she began teaching guitar about 6 weeks after she got her first guitar. And she went on to a 30-year musical career. Interestingly enough, she's an Emmy award-winning musician. That happened about midpoint through her career. She taught our classes, and she always taught her beginning students, the very first time in a class with her, she taught them a simple 2-chord song called Polly Wolly Doodle. You may or may not have heard it. It's going down south to see my gal, sing Polly Wolly Doodle all the day. Forgive my voice, I don't sing too well. Anyway, it was a 2-chord song, the chords were A and E, which were very easy to finger. And the reason she did it was the very first time she, very first day in their class, they went home and they could play a song. So they had the tactile experience. Rather than just learning what the chord formations are and strumming the guitar, she taught them a song, and it brought in another sensory perception, and made the learning process a lot smoother. So I call this project of doing a coffee coaster the Polly Wolly Doodle of airbrushing. I'm not suggesting that people should go out and start making coasters. It's just a simple way that I can introduce people to airbrushing, have them complete a project, and take it home as a reminder of what we did in class. And I think you'll see when you, or agree when you see what I've done. And by the way, the other package that's there is some completed coasters that I don't want you to look at yet. We'll get to that later on. So I think that's what I wanted to do for right now. I'm going to turn the camera off. I have to move around to the other side of my desk because I'm going to use the airbrush, and I have to put the camera over my shoulder, and there's not room enough behind me to do that. So I'm going to turn the camera off and be back when I've got myself set up.